So we've got all the new rollers here and the new bolts and hardware, at least on what we could reach. And the reason we couldn't get this one on is because it's still too tight. We didn't loosen this one up. So what we're going to do is turn the machine on and use the drive control to drive the sprocket forward a little bit. So we're going to take what we have here, we're going to tighten them down with the impact and a wrench on the backup, and we're going to move it forward. So this is just barely beyond where we can reach. So we can go ahead and get to this next one and get to this one here, so we can go ahead and get this new piece in here. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, I'll just leave that one loose. Now that we have the sprocket rotated over, I can still get to this last one I left loose. So that way we can get to these that need to be done. This one, this one, this one, this one. And you can see this one was already loosened up here, but we couldn't get it out. So we can get it out now. So we can go ahead and swap that one out. So that's the next step. Okay. So Mrs. Caden's finished getting all the drive sprocket rollers and new hardware installed. She did a great job doing that. So all that's done. While she was doing that, I was working on getting the track around everything, and that's ready to go. So the next step is to take this drive table and pivot it back toward the undercarriage. So the track is going to need to be kind of lifted up and tweaked while the drive table gets twisted around. So let's work on that. Alright, well there you go. That wasn't too bad. The ratchet strap really helped hold it out of the way. I struggled on the other side when I did that one without having this, so I came up with that to try to hold it up, and it was perfect. Alright, so next up is we got to take our pivot bolt out of the undercarriage for the drive table. That's just, slid in there from before. And then this whole drive table has to start going back, and it has to meet up with this alignment little sleeve here, and there's one on the back side too. And those are those are the positions where these bolts go in. So it has to at least be to here. So this bolt hole has to be to here. So that's how far it needs to go back. So what I'm going to start with is using a ratchet strap and just start to pull it back that way, and that'll get it pointed in the right direction. So we need to take the drive table back to this position here. So this hole needs to line up with this area here, so you can see how far it needs to go. Some of it will be done with the turnbuckle for the tensioning assembly. The rough adjustment or the initial movement I'm going to attempt to do with a ratchet strap hooked to here or up there, and just try to pull it back this way. Maybe I'll hook from here to here, something like that, just to slide it a lot, get it halfway close. So I've got the bolt removed for the front of the drive table there, and I've got the ratchet strap hooked up. I've got it anchored back at the shipping container. Let's see if we can get this thing to move. So we did get it to move some, 6 inches probably. Now it's up to this heavy ramp part, and I had a hard time on the other side with that too. I just had to keep muscling it on up there, and it finally made it. But what I'm going to do is try to pry it up a little bit and put a little tension on it and see if I can get it to move some more. The angle I'm pulling it at seems like it's pulling the drive table away from the machine a little bit, so I'm just going to kind of correct it a little bit with this crowbar. So I'm making my way up the ramp there. It's a good start. I'm going to keep putting tension on it, keep correcting it here. So you can see I'm keeping tension on it and using the crowbar to align it. So I'm really only, right now, I'm only 3 inches away from where I need to be exactly to start putting the bolts in here. I might have to make up the rest of it with the turnbuckle like I did the last time, but let's try this a little bit more with the ratchet strap. So what I've done is release the tension of the ratchet strap, and that allowed the drive table to kind of square up a little bit with everything. And then since I lubricated up these threads on this, I can easily just extend that to line it up. Now when I put these pins back in here, I'm going to make sure I put the part you can drive on facing out, because whoever put this in before slid them in this way, so it was hard to get them back out. I think it'd be a lot easier to drive these out once they've been in there and gotten rusty and muddy that way. So that's how I'm going to do it, since it's easy to put them in right now. Just like that. And then I'm going to put this pin retention device back in place. Perfect. So now all we need to do is turn this turnbuckle to tension the track and to slide the drive table back into position. Now that we have the drive table back where it needs to be, you can see this very first hole. There's 3 holes here on this plate on both sides, the rear and the inside and the outside. And there's the adjustment is back here. That's all lined up, so that I know that I have the tension proper, because it says you should have X amount of deflection with 100 pounds of force, and I'll put that number in the underneath the screen here somewhere, and that'll be what that is. So what I found here, though, that this hole was full of dirt, completely packed, and when that happens, it's really hard to get this hardware through there. This is some new hardware I got because the old stuff was just so bad, really rusty. But what I've found was it's really hard to get these through there. So what I do, I learned this from an old maintenance guy, cut a couple of notches in here, and that'll help the dirt go somewhere so it doesn't get so bound up. So if you can see that, I just used a cutoff wheel and on an angle grinder, and just kind of put those in there. These threads, it won't interfere with the engagement of the threads down here, because this is going to overhang a little bit, so I have plenty of thread engagement. So what I'm going to do is Put a little penetrating oil down in there. The drive table needs to go a little bit away from me so that it lines up properly with the bolt. I don't know if you saw it kind of fall over there. It looks like it could go just a little bit more. There we go. So now the bolt's not rubbing against this slotted little groove there for the adjustment. So that kind of got started. I kind of felt that engage a little bit. So I'm gonna need a ratchet and a 15/16 on here to chase that threaded insert out. So effectively, I'm kind of using the bolt as a tap. So what you'll need to do is run it down in there, back it off like you would do a tap. I'm going to put a little extra penetrating oil on these threads to kind of help cut all that dirt out of there. And I'll show you what those little grooves look like when I get all the way through. So you can see I just barely back it off and it loosens right up. So take another run at it. And sometimes what I'll do is go ahead and take this all the way out. I tried to look for a tap in my local hardware store. I don't know if you can see, I'm sure you can. That's just loaded with grease and grime and dirt. So I'm just going to clean this out, that groove out. There you go. You can see a big hunk of that just gunk on there. So make sure we get that cleaned out, and I'm gonna make another run at it. So I'm sure a tap would do much better, but I don't have one. So if you don't have one and you've got an angle grinder, you can still make it work. Feels like I made it all the way through that time. All right, so that chased the hole out pretty good. Now I'm ready to go ahead and put the flat washer and lock washer and the new bolt without the grooves in it, because I'm going to use this last one on the back side, on the inside of this undercarriage. So we can go ahead and tighten this down, and see that it goes right in there. So here's the last two bolts that go in here, 15/16 on the nut on the inside with a lock washer, and then there's one on the opposite side too. The last thing we need to do is to go ahead and tighten this lock nut down on that turnbuckle. I probably should have done that earlier, but I just remembered. There we go. So just tighten that down. This is tight, this is tight, that's tight, track is tensioned. We're good to go. Alright guys, well that wasn't too bad. It took me a little while to get it going here, but this second side that I did, I started on the first one, and in all honesty, to try it myself without making a video, to mess up as much as I could so I could get this side right. And it worked, because this side went, I would say, twice as fast as the other side. I knew what to do, how to do it, and now you do. Now you know how to do it. So anyways guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.